All right, is this thing going? Is it working? It says excellent. I think we're going. All right, well, hey, check this out. Good morning, it is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo, with yet another episode of Red Stone Lapis Lazuli. Yes, let's get into it, eh? Let's see, watch it crash. Watch it crash! Ah! Every time. I think it's a limitation of, I'm not even sure. I'm not a programmer, I don't even know what's going on here. What I do know is that I lowered the clock speed of my video card because it was super hot. It was like getting up to like 100 degrees Celsius, like all the time. So I like purposely underclocked it to reduce the heat because it's pretty hot. It's pretty hot. Yes, here I am again. So I'm facing the ship. This is the the ship. I can't hear anything. Oh, let me turn it up. All right. Is the sound working? Yeah. Okay. So this is a ship that sails on the ocean, but it's sideways and it's half buried. So like I'm just digging it out. Dig out the ship. Dig out the ship. And it has a side benefit for me because all this sand I'm getting, I can turn into glass. And now that I have a furnace array, I can effectively smelt things, or efficiently, I should say, efficiently smelt items. So I can turn this sand into glass. And glass is good. Glass is good. I like glass. But yeah, welcome to my Minecraft show yet again. It's like, it's heating up. It's been a, oh, check that out, it's sandstone. The sand was so compacted it turned hard. Ooh. We're at an inflection point in the United States. Our destiny is to become a multiracial democracy. That's our destiny. We're going to become a multiracial democracy if things were allowed to proceed. However, the Confederates, who were never truly defeated in the Civil War, have always had other plans. Confederates have always wanted to create an ethno-state. An ethno-state is a state whereby a certain group has privileges and the other groups don't have the privilege. So what ends up happening is the power accrues to the people of the particular ethno group. And the only way you can do that is through violence. So ethno-states are inherently violent. They're inherently violent. So the United States, as you know, only exists because it teamed up in the beginning. It teamed up with slavers who, like, by definition want an ethno-state. It was like the only way to go forward it was to team up with the bad guys. So now here we are. 250 years later. We fought a civil war about 150 years ago, but the outcome was unresolved. Sure, the Confederates lost their territory, they lost their gambit to secede from the United States, and to take some of the territory. They failed that, but they managed to stage a coup and overthrow the American, well, at least the executive branch of the government, and that allowed that preserved the power of the slavers, so that they may have been defeated, but they would have the chance to come back. And that's what we're facing right now. Right now, the slavers are making their move to overthrow the government again. Now, I don't think I'm not saying it's an organized, like, ideology where people are like, yeah, I'm gonna join the slaver group and overthrow the government. No, it's more like something that just emerges from various ideologies. And like you can see like pretty clearly the divide between the states that are controlled by Confederates and the states that are controlled by Unionists. I mean, it's not a difficult distinction to make. In the states controlled by Confederates, voting is highly regulated and restricted. Women have very few rights, have less rights to their own bodies, and in general, minorities are oppressed. Environmental regulations are lax. Gun laws are lax. So there's a lot of violence in these states. And like the Confederates have pretty violent states. And it's not like they produce a lot of economic activity. They're actually subsidized by the wealthier blue states. Hey, spiders, I want your string and eyeballs. Ow. Give me your string and eyeballs. Okay. But yeah, so the power is concentrated into the hands, in the Confederate states, the power is concentrated into the hands of the wealthy elite. And you can see how this plays out through the society. Their societies are not nearly as healthy. But yeah, so they're making their move. They tried to make their move with Donald Trump back in 2020 when they tried to overthrow the government and install a white supremacist dictatorship. But it was defeated. For a number of reasons, it was defeated. And they did not get a chance to overthrow the government. But the institutions of the United States weren't really designed to handle like this level of corruption. There's a lot of corruption inside the United States. So what that means is that even though Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government in 2016, he hasn't really been held accountable for it because of corruption. Particularly in the judicial branch. So, one of the things Donald Trump did was he stole documents and then sold them to foreign governments. Stole nuclear secrets and then sold them to foreign governments. But that trial is perpetually on hold because the judge in that trial is named Eileen Cannon, and she's corrupt. She was literally appointed to her position by Donald Trump after Donald Trump lost his presidential bid in 2020. And from outside observers, it's clear that this judge is not acting in a typical judge fashion. She is very, very, very sympathetic to Donald Trump, and has allowed Donald Trump to delay the case indefinitely. In fact, she's always attacking the prosecution on behalf of Donald Trump. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily like a prosecution-friendly guy, because generally prosecution is levied at the poor and the marginalized. So I'm not like a pro-prosecution guy, but when it comes to holding account powerful rich men, yes, I'm about prosecution. And it's not working out because Donald Trump's lackey is delaying the case. Now, then you have the DC trial. So Donald Trump was also on trial in DC for trying to overthrow the government. But that trial is delayed. Why? Because his buddies in the Supreme Court have ruled that Donald Trump is king. So that one is pretty fucking significant, because clearly, ooh, there's a chest. Clearly, the United States has no king. Clearly, nowhere in the Constitution does it allow for the establishment of a monarchy. Hey, what's in this? Ooh, potatoes and coal. Ooh, moss blocks. Actually, these are kind of useful. And I'll leave the rest here. Poisonous potatoes. I don't need them. So the Supreme Court, because remember, Donald Trump also appointed 3 of the 9 justices on the Supreme Court. Already, some of the justices on the Supreme Court were already corrupt, like Clarence Thomas. He's been on Supreme Court for like 40 years. He was appointed by Reagan, and the dude's corrupt. He takes bribes from billionaires, like regularly, and there's nothing that can be done about it. Why not? Because you need the cooperation of both branches or both parties in order to get anything done in the Senate. Like, you would normally pass legislation to remove corrupt judges, but you need the cooperation of both parties to do this. And one of the parties, the Republican Party, they want the corrupt judge. They put the corrupt judge there on purpose. Why? Because the Republican Party is essentially the Confederate Party. So they're not really playing democracy anymore. So you can't get rid of the corrupt judges because one of the parties in our government is not a good faith actor. So we're stuck with these corrupt judges, unless you. Which kind of stupid, right? That's dumb. But again, we have to share power with. We're like sharing power with slavers right now. So, like, it's coming to a head, though, right? It's coming to a head because America is, or the United States is slowly working toward majority-minority status. What that means is, like right now, just white people by themselves compose about 61%, or maybe more, 69% of the population. In other words, by themselves, white people are a majority. By themselves, majority. That means if white people band together with other white people, they can wield immense power. And coincidentally, the ethno-state that the Confederates want to create is a white settler ethno-state. Hey, you mean the majority the ideology, the fascist ideology is targeted toward the majority population, that's crazy, but that's the way it is. So yeah. So that's why Confederates are able to control huge swaths of land, because their ideology is white supremacist, and the majority of population is white. So there's like an however, that is changing. Demographics are changing. Bit by bit, other minorities are growing in their population. And soon, maybe by 2050, the United States, the demographic makeup of the United States will be such that the white people are only 49% of the population. All the other minorities combined will be 51%. What that means is that no longer can white people have a absolute majority in the United States. So if your ideology is predicated on white supremacy, but you can no longer get power in a democracy to enact white supremacy, you have two options. You can either abandon white supremacy and open up your parties and ideas to be more inclusive, or you can overthrow democracy. If you overthrow democracy, you don't need to have a majority of people to have power. You just take power through violence. And that's what the Republicans have decided on. Republicans have decided to abandon democracy and to hold on to power through violence. Now, they already did so on January 6th. But another way that the Republicans hold on to violence is through the police. If you recall, the police brutally murdered a man named George Floyd. He wasn't the first, and he wasn't the last. But his murder, because it was so brutal, and because it was filmed, and because of the callousness displayed by the police, it set something off. And there were mass protests against police brutality. The U.S. government responded by sending more police for more police riots. The primary source of violence during the George Floyd protests were the police. The police were incredibly violent. So, yeah, there were police riots when it came down to it, and you can see it happening again with the now, because there's a lot of people who are protesting for the rights of Palestinians not to be genocided, and demands for a ceasefire are being made. But again, the state comes after the protesters with violence. The violence is coming from the police, which is an agent of the state. Now you're gonna say, wait a minute, Pogokiro, isn't the United States, like, not all the United States is under under Confederate control? How can you blame the Confederates when this shit is happening in quote union held states like California? Well, that's a good question. And I don't really know the answer to that one. But for sure, the Confederates are all about the violence. And they're getting ready to do it again. They're gonna do it again. Because nothing really happened to the leaders. I mean, yeah, the small guys got sentenced. But even then, the Supreme Court is helping the small guys by trying to legitimize the January 6th insurrection. Well, it's more like a byproduct because they're trying to protect Donald Trump. And as a byproduct, the January 6th insurrectionists are also getting help. But not intentionally. The prime goal is to insulate Donald Trump. Alright, this ship is sideways. But I already got its booty. There's only one chest? Come on, there's gotta be another one. Yeah, there's another one in there. Ooh, a buried treasure map. I'll take your paper. I'll take your feathers. You can have my dirt. I would take your treasure map. Okay. Slowly being revealed. Sit right back in your hero tale, a tale of a fateful trip. Aboard this tiny ship. Ow. Ow. Let's see what's going on. More glass. Oh, that's sandstone. That's not gonna work. Sandstone won't cut it. Give me sand. I can keep the sandstone for other purposes. Where will I keep it? Yeah, where would you keep it? Let's put it in this corner. Along with the moss. Potatoes. Paper. Treasure map. Okay. Ta-da! Huh. Anyways, remember how I said that Donald Trump and wants to commit violence on Americans? That's not just me saying it. That's not just me. This is his former Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, interviewing and saying that Donald Trump wanted the military to shoot the protesters.
He's going to finally give a direct order to deploy paratroopers into the streets of Washington, D.C., and I'm thinking with weapons and bayonets. And this would be horrible.
What specifically was he suggesting that the U.S. military should do to these protesters?
He says, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. And he's suggesting that that's what we should do, that we should bring in the troops and shoot the protesters.
The commander-in-chief was suggesting that the U.S. military shoot protesters.
Yes, in the streets
American
of our nation's
protesters.
capital. That's right. He's going to finally.
So, do you understand? If Donald Trump takes power, he's going to crack down on our First Amendment right to protest. He's going to shoot us with violence because he doesn't believe in the Constitution. Donald Trump. He's a dictator. Now, I know there's a lot of Americans who are with Donald Trump. And I can only assume it's because they too want to overthrow the government. Like, they'll play stupid. They'll be like, oh, I don't know that, but they won't go find out. So it's more like willing, it's willing ignorance, willful ignorance. It's not that, like, so they do that so they can pretend that they don't know what's going on, when everyone knows. Everyone already knows. Donald Trump is a dictator, or is a fascist who wants to overthrow the government. He's a traitor. Donald Trump's a traitor. So people who follow Donald Trump are likewise traitors. How can it be any different? Now the big news that all the media is talking about is the debate. Oh, the debate. Look how bad Joe Biden did. And like all the focus has been on Joe Biden, which is like, I think, the stupidest mistake to make. The stupidest mistake to make. If you take an objective view to look at the debate objectively, understanding that the rules of debate are to share your ideas and to have them contrast and compare with the other guys. The whole point of the debate is to be truthful about what's going on. And Donald Trump lied every time. Not only did he lie, he was unable to answer any of the questions that were given to him. So, and instead, what he did was he used the platform of that CNN gave him to spread his conspiracy theories. Like, he made the claim that he didn't have sex with Stormy Daniels. Then it's like, why did you pay her $130,000 to say you guys didn't have sex when you didn't have sex? Like, why did your fixer do all this work and go to prison for it if it didn't happen? So Donald Trump is counting on his base being willfully ignorant. They will only listen to Donald Trump. They will not look for themselves. That's just one example of the way Donald Trump lies. But yeah, he's a super big liar. So like, but for some reason the media has run with the Republican meme that Biden is old. The Republicans have been saying this meme since the beginning, since like before Biden even became president. They've been saying this the same thing over and over and over again. And then now they take a debate where Biden is faced a deluge of lies from Donald Trump, and probably reacted poorly, because maybe Joe Biden was looking for a debate and not a torrent of bullshit. But the media, instead of calling out Donald Trump's lies and inability to answer the question, instead they adopt Donald Trump's frame and say that Biden's too old, and that he didn't respond the right way to a torrent of lies. They won't even acknowledge that Donald Trump lied. That's how bad it is. They won't even acknowledge it. Donald Trump spent the entire time lying. So this has gotten the Democrats into a tizzy. Some of the Democrats. The Democrats with weak hands. The weak-handed Democrats are in a tizzy. They're like, oh no, Joe Biden looked scary. Joe Biden didn't look like he was made for TV like Donald Trump. Shit. Donald Trump, yeah, it's easy to look like you're made for TV when you're lying your ass off. When you don't need to worry about the truth or facts, it's easy to talk and look polished. Because you don't care what you're saying. Nothing you say matters. Like, when I look for a president, I look for someone who can get stuff done. And the thing I can do is I can look at two periods. There's a period when Donald Trump had a trifecta, and that meant he controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency. In that time of absolute government control, what did Donald Trump and the Republicans do? They passed a law cutting taxes for the wealthy. That's what they did. Here, let me go look that up. No, wrong one. That's my taxes. Ah, no. I don't want to show my taxes. Oh, dude, where's that? Do I have to, like... What happened to, like... Here, open location. Okay, so in the 1950s, this was the tax structure. The less money you made, the less you pay in taxes. And if you're really, really rich, you pay a lot of taxes, like 70%. But in 2018, Donald Trump and the Republicans passed this tax bill. So what this tax bill looks like is the less money you make means you're going to pay more in taxes than the very, very richest. The poorest people in the country are going to pay more taxes than billionaires. That was the accomplishment of Donald Trump. That's Donald Trump's accomplishment when he held the trifecta. When he held control of the government, his great plan was to cut taxes for the very, very rich. So okay, that's what you can look forward to. If you want to like elect Donald Trump and the Republicans, you want to make sure that the wealthy people get lots and lots and lots of money. That's what you want. You want the poor people to suffer and the wealthy people to have lots of money. Yeah, what else do we got here? But in contrast, when Joe Biden and the Democrats had trifecta power from 2020 to 2022, they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act. They lowered insulin to $35 a month. They canceled student loans, and they did a whole bunch of other stuff. I just can't remember it. So if we look here at the 2018 tax cuts, the tax cuts for the billionaires didn't really help the economy that much. Like, no one cared about the tax cuts for the billionaires, except for the billionaires. But over here in 2021, 2022, when Joe Biden and the Democrats did pass the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act, that just turbocharged our industrial base, our industry. A lot of investment after that. So, I mean, all you got to do is look at what happened during the two periods, and you can see that Donald Trump and the Republicans are less effective than Joe Biden. Why do I care about how Joe Biden responds to a torrent of lies from a fascist and a criminal? Oh, a criminal came up and lied to his face for over an hour. Well, I wouldn't say over an hour, but for 40 minutes. And he didn't look good. I don't care. Things got done. Yeah, I think it would be stupid to I think it would be stupid to switch candidates now. It's way too late. It's way too late. We already had our primaries. We already had our discussion about this. Like, sure, we had like we even had a primary for Joe Biden. Like, again in 2024. And he won all the primaries, Joe Biden. So it's stupid to be talking about replacing him now. Too late, guys, too late. We already did the process. It's already done. Like, it would be crazy to replace an incumbent candidate with a newcomer. It would just be crazy. The incumbent has a lot of power and a lot of advantage over a newcomer. Plus, all the machinery for fundraising has already been set up for Joe Biden. It would be crazy to switch candidates now. In fact, the only, like, there's no good that comes from this talk of replacing Joe Biden, except if you want to help the Republicans. There's a secret recording I have of Donald Trump saying that he wants Joe Biden to drop out. Where did it go?
What did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, fantastic.
He kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got
He just handed the guy $100. You see that?
him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's just so fucking bad. So,
I just can't imagine.
but can you imagine that guy with dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they probably he can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Really?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, so Donald Trump wants Joe Biden to quit. Why would you do what Donald Trump wants? That's like the stupidest thing ever. Donald Trump is an evil little man. Remember, Donald Trump is a rapist, and in the Epstein files that were recently released, turns out he raped some 12-year-old girl. Well, that's what he was accused of doing. So that's a pretty serious accusation to be raping 12-year-old girls with Epstein. Yeah, you don't want to go with that guy. Look at this is Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump saluting the North Korean general. Look at Kim Jong-un going, "The fuck you doing? What's going on?" Like, Donald Trump is a moron. Remember Donald Trump, the way he deals with Putin? Let's look at it. That's how Donald Trump deals with Putin. Donald Trump is the junior partner in this situation. Did you hear Donald Trump announce that he's building Trump Tower in Saudi Arabia? Now remember, Donald Trump isn't a real estate tycoon. He's a money launderer. He uses his properties to launder money for criminals. So if he's building Trump Tower in Saudi Arabia, it's not because he's making a business venture. It's because he needs to launder the money of the Saudis. the blood money. Like, I did like 2 other shows this week. Like, it was kind of stupid, but that's all right. Hey, like, the key thing here is to understand that the Supreme Court is corrupt, and that the ruling they made has no basis in the Constitution. So I can pull up the Constitution right now. Let's see. This is No. Yeah, here. Article 1, Section 3 in the Senate. The last paragraph. It says, judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office. So what that means is that no matter what, the Senate, when it convicts on impeachment, the only thing the Senate can do is to remove from office. And they can disqualify the person from ever holding an office again. Right. But the person convicted or not convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. That means even if someone is impeached, it does not remove their liability to the law. So it's not like if the Senate impeaches someone, that makes them immune from the law. No. Just because they're impeached doesn't mean they're immune from the law. They're still subject to the law. So, but that doesn't say precisely, but what if you don't get impeached? Well, if you don't get impeached, you were always subject to the law. Just because you're removed doesn't mean you're not subject to the law. You are always subject to the law. Donald Trump the president is always subject to the law. It's in the Constitution. It's literally in the Constitution. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the president is immune from the law. Nowhere. The Republican judges just made that shit up because they're Confederates. They want to overthrow the government and install a white supremacist dictatorship. And then you're going to say, well, Clarence Thomas is black. Who cares? That doesn't matter anything about being a white supremacist. Enrico Tarro, the leader of the Proud Boys, in prison for insurrection. He's not quote quote white. He's like Hispanic or Latino. But he's a white supremacist. He tried to overthrow the government. Like, people are saying it wasn't an insurrection. Then why is Enrique Tarrio in prison for insurrection if it wasn't an insurrection? It doesn't make sense. How can you say it wasn't an insurrection when there are people in prison for insurrection? The only ones who want to deny that it was an insurrection are white supremacists. What else do I got here? I don't know. Just a bunch of stuff. I don't really feel like doing it all. Like, I think I already did it. I spoke a bunch already. I don't want to like keep at it. I mean, I think the main thing is to denounce the Supreme Court ruling that would make Donald Trump a king. Like, it's not in the Constitution. They just made that shit up. So that kind of means the Supreme Court is illegitimate. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the constitutional way to deal with this, since one party absolutely does not want to do anything. The Republicans do not want to do anything except overthrow the government. You have to deal with the party that at least acts in good faith, and that's the Democrats. I think the Democrats should get a trifecta and then expand the court so that the influence of the corrupt judges is lessened. If you can't remove them, you can lessen their influence by expanding the size of the court to like 30. Expand it to 30. From 9 to 30. That will make it much more difficult for individual justices to be bribed. You have to bribe like a bunch of them instead of just one or two. And to do that, I think the Democrats should stick with Joe Biden. It's stupid to adopt the frame, it's stupid to adopt the Republican frame. It's just dumb. Like they didn't make that frame to benefit Joe Biden. They made that frame to hurt Joe Biden. So by adopting a frame designed to hurt Joe Biden, you're doing the work of the Republicans for them. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. I mean, sure, let's criticize Joe Biden for his response to his continued funding of genocide. That's a valid reason to get mad at Joe Biden. Joe Biden is dragging the United States into a Middle East war because he's funding genocide. That's a reason to get mad at him, not because he reacted poorly to the Gish Gallop of lies spewed by Donald Trump. I don't know, this is a really important election. If Donald Trump gets in, he's gonna like hand over Ukraine to he's gonna hand over Ukraine to Russia. He's gonna hand Taiwan to China. He's gonna hand Gaza over to the Israelis and the West Bank. It would just be really, really bad, and we'll have no more elections. Donald Trump will have no more elections. Listen, it's not me saying it; it's him. Well, it's not here, but yeah. So, if we want to maintain democracy, we have to make sure that Donald Trump is defeated. And then maybe next year he'll face consequences for his crimes. But if we fail to elect Joe Biden, and instead Donald Trump takes power, that'll be the end of the American experiment in democracy. A lot of white supremacists are hoping that the Americans fail. So we can't fail. We cannot fail. Alright, until next time. I think I'm good for now. Until next time, Pagoda cut out. Peace. Stop.